there, I'm Clarence Waldron. Welcome back to Black Muse. We are continuing our Black Music Month celebration with Darrell Hill, noted entertainment historian, archivist, and a collector of Black art and Black music. Anything Black that's good, he collects it. He has a vast collection. So let's get started. Let's start at the top, Darrell. Where did this interest in music first? Where did that come from? And how did you end up a collector of such great music?
Well, first off, I collect music and I collect video footage. So I wanted to make sure that I added that. When I was in grade school, my best friend, his mom had a record store. So she would get all the 45s in, and we didn't get paid, but we'd have to unload the truck and sell, the records in the afternoon on Saturdays. So we always had music. My aunt was one of the first homeowners in our family, and my aunt and uncle, and they had a jukebox in their basement, believe it or not, in Beverly. So that was another way that I was exposed to music at a young age. And as a child, I grew up during the Motown era, so that speaks for itself.
Right, right. Now, can you recall your very first concert that you ever attended? Because I know you go to a lot of concerts today. What was your very first one?
Absolutely. My very first concert, there's a film on Netflix called Save the Children. It's a documentary, and it documents Jesse Jackson Sr., the Rainbow Push. I think it was Operation Breadbasket at that time in
Yes.
1973. There was an event called Save the Children, and he was able to gather so many of our iconic artists in one place, the International Amphitheater. You probably remember Clarence on 45th and Halsted. So that film is amazing because it's been restored and everything. But the Jackson 5, they played the Save the Children concert, and that was my first concert experience.
Wow.
With Jermaine, by the way, the
Okay.
original. Yeah.
Okay. With the original. Got it. Got it. Now, how has social media boosted what you do? Because I see you on Instagram, you're on Facebook, you're posting this, you're posting that. How did social media help you do what you're doing?
So I mentioned that in addition to the music archiving, I have a very large archival collection of video footage. So with all of the different changes in technology, from tapes to CDs to DVDs to streaming, I found myself with probably I haven't actually counted, but I'm going to say I have at least 2,000 DVDs of footage that I've recorded myself from back in the day on TV, and I've collected, from other collectors around the world. So social media has given me an opportunity to share all that. And it's been amazing because I'm meeting people, and I'm also giving. There are a lot of people that are historians, and they're not even aware of it, Clarence. I'm not like the expert on. I'm always humble. I'm not really the expert on history because there's so many people out there that have, a passion like I do. So this social media is great because, as you know, I'll do the Darrell Dilemma, or I'll do the trivias, and give people an opportunity to share what they know. So it's just been a wonderful experience with the social media and being able to share the video archive with the public.
Got it. Now, even for me, you found something that has been just never been found before. You found Dionne Warwick's movie Slaves. I
Mm.
don't know how you found that. I looked for that for ages and could not find it. And even for you to know, even her people did not have it in their collection at that time. So how'd you find that one? Do you remember that?
Remember finding that and sharing it with you. So
Yeah.
you're drawing that memory.
Yeah.
Let's see. How did I find slaves? Slaves, I think, came to me through eBay. Years ago, eBay wasn't as monitored and strict, so people could sell basically anything on eBay. And slaves, I believe, is where I got eBay rather was where I got slaves. And as you know, European fans and collectors, they probably, I'm not going to say that they value Black history more than Black Americans or America, but that's a vast resource to tap into. So the slaves was something that I got from Europe, believe it or not.
All right, all right, all right.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay. Now let's go back to Lisa Fischer when she was in concert here. You had great footage of that. That is like wow, nice, nice.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, Lisa Fischer, I think, is like the eighth wonder of the world. Her voice and just her history and being able to be. I was blessed because we were able to get. It was an intimate venue, which I love, and we were able to sit right up front. And I'm always careful and conscious about putting a camera or in somebody's face while they're performing, But it was a comfortable venue, and as you say or as you saw, the footage speaks for itself. So Lisa Fisher is one of my all-time favorites.
Absolutely. So now, do you use your phone or an actual camera? Yeah.
Good question.
Yeah.
I've actually been using my phone up until now, and of course that's the challenge with space and the files being too large to transfer, and all of that type of thing. So I'm actually moving. Recently, I just moved into the digital camera. So I'm going to be using that more often as well. But up till now, it's been basically just the iPhone and. I have an eye because at my church I was on the video ministry for many years, and as an undergrad, my initial goal, my dream was to be a photojournalist. So I started taking pictures with a Canon camera many years ago, and that's kind of helped me now that we've got the convenience of the cell phones.
Right, right. So outside of Lisa Fisher, who else have you covered?
Oh, well, I would say this most recently, Martha Wash was here in Chicago at the City Winery, and that was amazing because not only did she do the Sylvester and Two Tons of Fun and all the disco stuff we love, but she introduced us to some new music. So that was a recent show. This past summer at our Millennium Park here in Chicago, there was a tribute to house music divas. And Steve Silk Hurley, who produced many of the hits for CeCe Peniston and Robin S. and all the different, divas of the 90s, he eclectically brought together a show. And I think there are about 8 or 9 of those divas on stage and Nesby. So that was amazing. And then I just got back from Vegas for the opening of the Queens tour, and I was able to get some footage on that as well.
So tell us about the Queen's tour. It does stop here, I think, by the time we come out.
Yeah,
But
the 30th. It'll be here in Chicago on the 30th.
of
Yeah,
May, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So talk about that for a minute. I mean, they all were great, but did you have a favorite moment, or just talk about the
So if,
Queen's
if if
tour?
anybody's been living under a rock, let's explain what the Queen's Legend Tour is.
Yes.
The Queen's Legend Tour is an amazing opportunity in our lifetime to actually see 4 legends on one stage. So you've got Patti LaBelle, you've got Stephanie Mills, you've got Shaka Khan, and you've got Gladys Knight.
Wow.
So my biggest disappointment with the Queen's Tour, I'll start with that, was
Hmm.
that they're up till now at least, because there's 2 legs of this. There'll be a part 2 in the fall, and who knows? We can always keep our fingers crossed. But the biggest disappointment for me was that there were no collaborations. So each artist, they did their own show. So there was no really collaboration of the artists. And for me, if I had my choice, I would pick That's What Friends Are For. I know you're a big Dion fan, but
Ah,
Gladys sang That's What Friends Are For by herself. So
right.
that would have easily been a perfect moment for the other 3 to join her.
Yeah.
So that was a disappointment. But overall, it was an exciting experience. Oftentimes, shooting footage at a concert can be challenging because everybody's got their phone and they're shooting. And sometimes you have people who, regardless of how much you pay for the ticket clearance, they want to be seen, and they stand up and dance, and they're right in front of you, and they have no regard, or they're singing off key real loud in your camera phone. So I had some challenges in Vegas, so I'm hoping to get some better footage in Chicago, and I know the set list. So if I have to go under somebody's arm pit like I did in Vegas to shoot one, or something, I'll be able to kind of know, the set list a little better. So that, that's the big challenge now, because everybody has a phone and everybody's not really concert etiquette friendly.
Right. I got to ask one question. Who is your favorite diva?
Well, that's a hard question. I'm going to break it up. Yeah, I'm going to break it up into two parts. Okay, I'm going to go diva in heaven, and then a diva living. So you're giving me the side eye because Chaka Khan is like the number one diva in my life. And Chaka and I have a history that goes back professionally. In the mid 90s, I started consulting business, fan club management consulting. And Chaka was my first client. And it's a small network because I started writing a newsletter for her and managing some other things, the meet and greets and different autographs, sending out photos with autographs, things like that. And word spread. And then I picked up Kenny Lattimore and I did some work with Patty. And, so that was, so we go back. And I'm happy that Shaka's getting her flowers. It's been 50 plus years. And, another quick thing I'll say too, if anybody out there if you want to help a brother out, start a GoFundMe page for me because Chaka has been named as the opening curator for the tribute to Quincy Jones in Montreux, Switzerland in June next month. So if anybody wants to create a GoFundMe page so I can get to Switzerland and see that show,
okay,
I would love that. So Chaka Living is the number one diva. So in heaven, that changes, and I probably can't pick one. But if I was pressed into a corner, I would say Dinah Washington.
Oh, nice. All right. What is on your playlist today? What are you listening to nowadays?
Since the Legends tour, I've been listening to a lot of the Gladys Knight and the Pips About Love CD that was produced by Ashford and Simpson. I've been listening to that a lot. And with doing that, then I started going down the Ashford and Simpson trail, listening to a lot of Nick and Val stuff because they're timeless in their music. Let's see who else. Taka Boom, who has a sister we might know named Chaka Khan.
I know her.
She's got a import out called Group Like This, and they're both on it. So that's something that I listen to. I've been listening to lately quite a bit. Love that. Let's see. First Choice. Disco Act First Choice. I've been listening to a lot of First Choice. I'm headed to DC this weekend. There's a concert, a reunion party. There's a club in DC in the 80s called the Clubhouse, and they're having a reunion party. And Rochelle Fleming, the voice of First Choice, she'll be performing. So I've been, I'm excited, see her again. And hear Dr. Love and Smarty Pants and all those wonderful First Choice songs. Yeah. So I've been listening to a lot of First Choice, getting ready for this weekend.
Yes.
Let's see, male, and I'm not just a diva guy, so let me just throw some men in there just for the record.
How about that? Yes.
Yeah. So I can never get enough of Jeffrey Osborne. Any and everything. I saw the Beyonce tour last Thursday night. I was at the Beyonce show. She did an amazing.
With all that rain, with the storm.
Actually, it was with all the rain. There was a 3-hour delay, so we were huddled in the outdoor Soldiers Field. In the what is it? The barracks. The comfort part for 3 hours, and it was quite a storm. And then as quickly as it started, it stopped. And they had all these people running out like ants on the field, and they were wiping them chairs down and picking them back up and bringing out brooms and mops. And she came out and she sang till like 1 in the morning, I'm told. But
Hmm.
I by that time, my stamina, I couldn't be there to one. But I saw half of her show, so that inspired me to listen to some Frankie Beverly because she did a wonderful tribute because she does a cover of one of his songs.
Yes,
So she
indeed.
did a wonderful montage, video footage in that. So I've been listening to a lot of Frankie Beverly and Maze. Kenny Lattimore was also a previous client back in the day, so I listened to a lot of his stuff. And newer artists, just so people don't think I'm like stuck in a time warp, which is not bad because for my money, there's more good old than there is new, but there is some good new stuff out. So
Hmm.
Teresa Griffith. A local Chicago favorite. Can't get enough of her music. You asked if there was anybody that I had shot recently. She did an amazing one-woman show tribute to a lot of divas. So I listen to her music quite a bit. There's a song called Lola's Theme for all the house heads out there. It's called Lola's Theme by the Shape Shifters. So that's something to look up. That's a good one. And then a couple of other up and coming divas that I like, or I'll say divas in training, if you will. Victoria Monet, as well as Iyama. Iyama. So those are two I think we need to pay attention to because they're gonna be making some big noise. So.
Wow. Okay. All right. So now let's go back. So you are from Chicago. You were born and raised here. Is that correct?
Born and raised, many people, unless again you've been living under a rock, you saw the show Good Times, and with JJ and
Hmm.
Thelma and all of that. So that was based on the Cabrini Green housing project. So that's where I was born in Cabrini Green. We moved when I was about maybe 6 or 7 to the near north side, which has now been gentrified and turned into something totally different. But yeah, I'm a North Sider, born and raised on the North Side of Chicago.
Got it. So now who inspired you to dream big? Was this your family, your parents?
So many people I could say have been inspirations, Clarence.
Mm.
Off the top of my head, who comes to mind first is DJ Frankie Knuckles, the godfather of house music. And the reason that I pick him initially is because what he did with disco music when they were trying to erase it, like overnight, they were trying to just erase it. And if anybody, if you don't know that story, Google the disco demolition because there's lots to unpack with that whole story racially and so forth. But what he was able to do with those disco songs and inspire so many young producers to create this new house music. I just think it's phenomenal what he did in his lifetime. So in 1984, I was dancing at one of his underground clubs that he owned, which was another reason I was inspired because he was a businessman and DJ and all of that, called the Power Plant. And the thing about the power plant that was so wonderful is you could go at 2 in the morning, you could go at 5 in the morning there because they wouldn't kick you out until maybe noon the next day. And you just dance, dance, dance. I remember you never knew who you were going to see at the PowerPoint. I remember once I was dancing and I looked to my left and Sylvester was dancing right next to me, at the power plant. So in 84, coming from the power plant, sweaty, tired, I come home to find that my mom had passed. So the next inspiration I would say would be my mom. She had a lot of health challenges in her short life, but she definitely inspired me to dream and really pushed me to go to college because I didn't even want to go, those kinds of things. And my grandmother as well. And probably my two biggest inspirations, Clarence, are my two younger brothers. We've got a pretty big age difference. So they were very young when she passed. And over the years, I've been, not only their big brother, but their father figure. And what they've been able to achieve in their lives now, they're married with, families and good careers. So I think, that has been probably my biggest and proudest inspiration is family.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now you also weren't you a mentee of the late great journalist Earl Callaway of the Chicago
I
Defender?
was I was definitely a mentor. Earl
Um,
Callaway, for those who don't know, was an amazing journalist at the Chicago Daily Defender, and we know the Defender has such a rich history in the story of Black America. During the Great Migration, it was the Chicago Defender that the Pullman Porters would take to the South, and people in the South could read about all of the industrial jobs in the North, and they started coming, leaving the South, leaving the lynching and, the sharecropper fake promises, all of the problems that the challenges that we had as a people. The Defender can be credited, for a lot of the success of that movement. So Earl Callaway was a family friend, and he used to actually drive me to back to school after I would come home for like summer break or whatever. He'd actually drive me to school and all. And I was always just fascinated because he went to like the opera and Alvin Ailey and all these different things that I had never even really heard about. So when I graduated, that was my first job. He was the fine arts editor and I was the assistant fine arts editor. So
hmm.
I had my own movie review column in the newspaper and everything. So that was such a wonderful time in my life, and I learned so much from him. As I mentioned before, I was exposed to opera and dance and just so many things that I never would have checked out had it not been for his diligence and his leadership in my life.
So now, where did you attend college? You made reference to that. Where did you attend college?
I went to NIU, Northern Illinois University,
Hmm.
and that's in the cornfields of Illinois, just outside of Chicago.
Okay. And how did that help shape your career today, even?
So that was a big inspiration as well because I pledged Alpha Phi Alpha when I was there, and immediately they made me the fraternity historian. So I think that's where the history bug kind of started because not only was I walking around with that Canon camera that I mentioned. And this was, now keep in mind, this was way before selfies and all of this. So, for me, for this, a brother to be walking around with a camera, was something different. And it wasn't always welcome.
Mm,
Because like here comes
mm.
Darrell Hill with that damn camera. Excuse me for the curse word in there.
No,
But
no.
so what's ironic though 90% of what they post now and what we use, for anniversaries and so forth is those, that footage that I took, when
Hmm.
everybody's like, here he comes with that camera.
Right.
So that historian appointment with my fraternity, I think, was the nucleus.
Right. Tell us about your main job, your day job, or have you retired from that? Talk about that for a second.
Okay, well, I'm not sure if I've retired or not because I
Oh,
seem to always find myself working.
oh, okay, okay.
But there is a monthly government pension check coming into my bank account because I put in 26 years with city government, and my role there was communications director in human resources. So a lot of the newsletter writing for the artists that I mentioned, and the writing and the journalism, I was able to kind of use a lot of that during that time, as well as training and so forth. So the current job that I have now is I'm a consultant. So I consult and do a lot of archival projects and special projects. So Shaka Khan, as I mentioned earlier, we have a long history, and that hasn't stopped because I contribute to her website. The discography that you see there, I put that together, and there's other projects that come up. I'm also a freelance writer for soulmusic.com, David Nathan's wonderful site over in London, and a couple other things here and there. So like I said, if I'm retired, I'm not so sure.
Right, right. All right, so here we are, this will be in June when this airs, Black Music Month. How should we celebrate Black Music Month, and how will you celebrate Black Music Month?
So Black Music Month, every day is Black Music Month, and every day is Black History Month. And anybody that visits any of my social media pages, they'll see that moniker a lot. But I think having June designated as Black Music Month is wonderful. I think what we should do is we should not forget our history. We are under attack, as we all know. Something that if anybody knows me, they associate me with the word Sankofa. So Sankofa is the mythical West African bird who, if you see the photo, the bird is flying forward but looking back, getting the food. So the analogy with Sankofa is you want to remember your history, not only to know where you're going, but it also gives you that hope and that determination as you're going through. So you always have to look back for the strength, of where we came. So that Sankofa is something that I think has stuck with me. It's my email. I've got a couple of YouTube channels and so forth. So I think we all should not forget our history. We should celebrate Black music by listening to our favorites, finding out more about new artists, and just kind of mixing it all together. So what I'll be doing for Black History Month, I made a commitment to myself that I'm going to post one live music video a day in June on my Facebook page. So
Okay.
I've made that commitment in the past, and I wasn't sure if I regretted it or not because life gets in the way. And, you got to really, and once you start it, you got to continue it because everybody's like,
Yes,
they're on there, on them comments and like, okay,
yes,
Darrell, da 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 da.
yes.
So that's my goal for June. I want to do at least one video a day, as well as I'm going to keep up the trivia posts and the games and everything that people like.
Okay. Now, isn't your girl Grace Jones coming to Ravinia in June?
She is. She'll be here on, is it next weekend? I think
I
it's
think
next
so.
week, not
Yeah.
this coming week. Yeah, the
Yeah.
following weekend
So do you
with
plan to?
Janelle Monáe, and she's another one that I listen to, and another bright talent of today that a lot of people sleep on. But yeah, Janelle Monáe and Grace Jones.
That
Yes.
should be hot. That should be another hot show. Anything else that you want to share since I got you here? Anything else on your mind today?
Off the top of my head, I just want to thank you for this opportunity, Clarence. Following some of the other people that have been on Black Muse, like Lisa Fischer, is a really hard act to follow. So
Okay, now.
I'm humble and I'm grateful that that you've asked me to be here. And I just like to again remind everybody, let's not let history be erased. Continue listening and sharing information, and let's not forget the people who have made it possible for us to continue. The last thing I want to mention is music. I think something that we often it goes underrated and often it's forgotten. We have to remember how music has been such an amazing way for us to survive. Okay, if you go back to the roots of country music and blues on the slave plantation, to the Great Migration, as we mentioned earlier, and the music that was brought from the Delta, Mississippi Delta, to Chicago and New York and other places, helped us get through those lynchings and get through all of those setbacks that we've we've been challenged with. And we don't want to forget the AIDS crisis and the whole disco movement, the hip hop, voice of hip hop in the 80s. And it just goes on and on. You know, the civil rights movement, I think I mentioned that. So music has been something that has, in many cases, it's all we had, was
Yeah,
music.
yeah.
So I think people forget that, and I just want to encourage everybody to listen to some music, and don't be afraid to go back and pull back out the oldies, and share it with the young people, because this is our history, and you know uh, we're challenged with a lot of things today, and music, I think, will get us through it.
Got it. Well, thank you very much for being here. Really appreciate you as well. But before we close, I got to give a quick shout out to Howard Sandifer and his wife, Darlene Sandifer. They are the founders of the Chicago West Community Music Center, a great school on the west side of Chicago. And this whole video podcast was their idea. It sort of came during the pandemic where everybody was home. And they said, let's reach out to our newsmakers and celebs and all that stuff, because they'll probably be home. And they were. And we got a great list of people, including you today. So I want to thank you and thank them once again. And please, the viewers, please click like and subscribe. We need to get more viewers. Please click like and subscribe. And I'll see you again next week. See you later.